Today, we embark on a journey through the layered complexities of family, an intricately woven tapestry where love, loss, and unexpected relationships intertwine. Our story centers around Clara, a 30-year-old artist, residing in a town that has witnessed both joy and sorrow. Clara's life has always walked the fine line between light and shadow, shaped by memories of a childhood marked by loss, and the love of those who endeavored to fill that void. Clara was a mere child of 5 when she lost her biological father, a man she barely remembers but whom she feels deeply connected to in the quiet corners of her heart. Raised predominantly by her mother, Eleanor, Clara found solace in her mother's unwavering love, the kind that wraps around a child like a warm embrace. However, this peace was disrupted when Eleanor met Robert through a local community volunteer group. Robert was not just another man in Eleanor's life. He embodied stability and understanding, emerging as an unwavering paternal figure in Clara's world. His arrival promised security and love, yet it also opened the door to unforeseen complexities. When Clara was 10, their family dynamic took another turn with the arrival of Scarlett, Robert's daughter from a previous marriage. Clara had just begun to find her footing with Robert, when Scarlett's insertion into their lives created a new layer of complexity. The teenage girl, just shy of a decade older than Clara, seemed to bring along a cloud of resentment, casting a shadow over the budding friendship Clara had hoped for. Scarlett viewed Clara as an unwelcome intruder in her father's new life, a reminder of her own loss, the mother whose absence echoed painfully in the silence of their home. The animosity was palpable from the outset. Scarlett's treatment of Clara began subtly, woven into the fabric of their daily interactions, a snide remark here, a dismissive laugh there. It spiraled quickly, and as their days together unfolded, Scarlett's bitterness manifested in crueler actions. Clara's art supplies, her sacred outlet, only ever seemed to go missing or become damaged, leaving her puzzled but determined to create, regardless of the sabotage. And while Eleanor and Robert were quick to reprimand Scarlett, claiming these behaviors would not be tolerated, their words fell on deaf ears. Scarlett was astute, adept at turning any situation to her advantage, often painting herself as the victim. She skillfully played on her parents' sympathy, hinting at her sorrow, whispering threats of running away as emotional blackmail. As years passed, Clara grew weary of navigating the tempestuous waters of their cohabitation, constantly tiptoeing around Scarlett, afraid that any misstep could lead to an outburst. She lost herself within her art, using it as a refuge, and over time it became the lens through which she viewed her fractured family. Her love for color and design became her weapon against the starkness of her surroundings, a fortress shielding her from the pain that constantly encroached. With each year, Clara began to recognize that the home she once knew was becoming unrecognizable. Eleanor and Robert struggled to keep the peace, but it felt increasingly impossible. The clash of personalities between the sisters created a rift in their collective family dynamics. It became evident to Clara that while love might bind them, true family was about respect and understanding, which was often absent in her life with Scarlett. Robert did his best to forge a bond with both girls, but unspoken tensions simmered beneath the surface like a barely contained flame. Clara's sanctuary, her home, which had once been a haven for her creativity, began to shift into a battleground defined by resentment and emotional turmoil. Those early years molded Clara into someone who learned to manage her feelings, both for herself and for Scarlett. The unyielding maliciousness from her stepsister seeped into her psyche, tethering her joy with the shadows of self-doubt. At the age of 16, Clara was left longing for relief, yearning for a day where she could escape the continuous cycle of anger and shame. However, destiny had its own plans for this fragile family, them all caught in the chaotic dance of redemption and betrayal. Clara wished for a resolution, a peaceful coexistence, but the winds of change were yet to blow through their lives as two destinies would soon collide, one that would change everything in unforeseen ways. Little did Clara know that her tumultuous journey was only just beginning. In every family, there is often an unspeakable tension that simmers beneath the surface, a silent war fought not with words but through actions and attitudes. For Clara, this tension intensified during her high school years, as the arrival of her stepsister Scarlett transformed from a mere annoyance into a deep, painful disruption. Scarlett, once a troubled teenager, settling into a new reality after losing her biological mother, now stood at the precipice of delinquency, choking on the resentment she could not voice. As Clara navigated her own journey through adolescence, Scarlett's descent into chaos became a daunting and disturbing backdrop, while Clara thrived in her academic pursuits and found solace in her art. Scarlett unraveled. The years bore witness to a stark contrast, one girl finding her wings and the other spiraling into darkness. Scarlett's rebellion was overt, an open challenge to the authority initially wielded by Eleanor and Robert. She began skipping school frequently, driven by a growing desire to escape the confines of a life that felt suffocating. Clara observed the downward spiral with a mixture of fear and pity. In her heart, Clara wished that Scarlett could channel her pain into something constructive, but instead she resorted to petty thievery and mingled with an older crowd that led her further astray. It was one fateful afternoon, marked by the chaotic echoes of school life, that everything changed for Scarlett. Caught attempting to sell stolen electronics, a stash of ill-gotten goods pilfered from a friend's parents' garage, she faced the repercussions of her reckless actions. Fortunately, the situation did not lead to an arrest, but the consequences were imminent. The school staff, alarmed by the incident, notified Clara's parents, and Robert felt he had reached a breaking point. In a stern familial meeting, Robert laid down an ultimatum that echoed in the silence that followed. Scarlett had to attend a specialized therapeutic boarding school, an institution dedicated to addressing behavioral disorders and instilling a sense of accountability. He brought forth the notion that this was not merely a punishment, but the last chance for Scarlett to reclaim her future. The message resonated heavily in the air. There was an unmistakable resolve in Robert's voice. Family meant safety, respect, and love, but those values had seemingly vanished from Scarlett's life. As the dust settled, the reality of Scarlett's impending departure cast a long shadow over Clara and her parents. Clara felt an unexpected rush of relief, mixed with guilt. While she recognized that Scarlett's absence would create a palpable vacancy in their home, she could not dismiss the strange weight lifting from her shoulders. In Scarlett's tumultuous wake, Clara found the liberation she never knew she craved, the opportunity to explore her passions without the constant threat of her stepsister's hostility. With Scarlett away, the atmosphere at home began to change. It was as if the clouds that had long lingered above had finally parted, ushering in a refreshing breeze. Clara excelled in her junior year, immersing herself in the arts. Every interaction with paint, every click of her camera shutter, became an extension of herself, a manifestation of the emotions she had been forced to stifle. She joined the photography club and participated in art classes that ignited her creative spirit, transforming her from a fractured girl into a vibrant, budding artist. As holidays approached, a bittersweet void remained in the household, a space once filled with Scarlett's erratic energy. Reunions became uneventful events, marked by polite discourse rather than genuine connection. Clara often wondered what had happened to Scarlett during her time away. Had the school managed to break through the walls she had built, or was the girl who had tormented her still lurking beneath a veneer of serenity? Scarlett returned only for major holidays, appearing more composed yet holding a mask of uncertainty. She sought to paint herself in a better light, re-emerging into Clara's life with a semblance of maturity. The tearful apologies she offered for her past behavior were laced with the kind of remorse Clara wanted to believe, the kind that begged for reconciliation. But Clara could not help but feel a nagging sense of skepticism. The deeply ingrained memories of their tumultuous interactions clung to her like an unwanted shroud. Clara sought to embrace this new chapter, allowing the flicker of hope for a renewed relationship to dance in her heart. Her next years at university were blossoming, but underneath it all, the core of their shared history loomed overshadowed by haunting doubts. While at different schools and cities, Clara and Scarlett's interactions remained cordial, exchanging small talk at family gatherings without the warmth that should have emanated from sisterly bonds. It was as if they were playing parts in a well-rehearsed play, performing for an audience that held similar expectations of normalcy. Yet it was in these moments of fragile cordiality that Clara found the resolve to tread lightly, often wishing that perhaps, just maybe, they could finally map their way toward genuine sisterhood. That desire for authenticity wrestled with the understanding that true reconciliation required accountability, and as Clara would come to learn, parts of Scarlett's past refused to stay buried. In her heart, Clara could feel the storm brewing, warning of the inevitable clash ahead. As seasons changed and time rolled forward, she realized that the darkest shadows of their shared history were not so easily outpaced. The threads of their lives had become intertwined in ways they had yet to understand, leading Clara into the depths of what true family meant. Love tinged with pain, a journey of healing overshadowed by betrayal just around the corner. The winds of change were gathering strength, and both sisters stood on the precipice of a life-altering reckoning, unknowing of the storm that awaited them. Time can be a curious thing. It has the power to heal wounds, but it can also mask the scars beneath, the emotional bruises that linger on the surface, reminding us of who we once were. For Clara, the gradual passage of years offered a deceptive promise. After Scarlett returned from boarding school, it seemed for a moment that the turbulence between them had settled. Scarlett appeared more composed, her tears felt genuine, and Clara's heart ached for the sister she had so longed for. Scarlett approached Clara in earnest, bearing the weight of past transgressions on her shoulders. The tears she shed were heavy with relayed sorrow, and for the first time, Clara could see the girl behind the mask, someone who had suffered and was determined to change. It was easy for Clara to want to believe in this newfound harmony that seemed to bloom between them, despite the shadow of doubt that clung to her. But Clara could not fully shake the unease birthed from their tumultuous history. As they settled into the familial routine during the holidays, their exchanges became superficial yet cordial. Clara attempted to navigate this new dynamic carefully, tiptoeing around the remnants of their past while cautiously embracing the flicker of hope for a renewed sisterhood. This encouraged Scarlett to become more proactive in their interactions. She reached out frequently under the guise of wanting to reconnect. Coffee dates turned into discussions about their future aspirations, and shopping trips soon morphed into heartfelt conversations about self-growth. In this newfound connection, tensions gave way to laughter and shared memories, yet Clara remained mindful of the fracture that had previously defined their relationship. It was difficult to fully reconcile the present with the ghosts of the past, but when Clara introduced Julian, her long-term partner, to the family, everything abruptly shifted. Julian, an architect whom Clara met at a design workshop, brought an air of calm and stability into her life. He understood her passions, supported her dreams, and inspired her in a way that felt profoundly deep and transcendent. Clara beamed with pride as she introduced him at a summer barbecue. Julian, with his laid-back charm, immediately endeared himself to Clara's family. But it was Scarlett's reaction that caught Clara off guard. Scarlett exhibited an unnerving interest in Julian, peppering Clara with questions about him, his work, his hobbies, and anything else that she could glean from their interactions. On the surface, it appeared as if Scarlett was genuinely happy for Clara. Yet beneath that facade, Clara sensed a hint of something darker at play. As weeks turned into months and Julian and Clara's bond deepened, Scarlett took on the role of a devoted stepsister, showing an exaggerated enthusiasm in wedding preparations once Clara and Julian became engaged. With an upbeat energy that felt almost performative, Scarlett volunteered to assist with planning Clara's wedding, offering her so-called marketing expertise. Clara admired her dedication but remained wary, a nagging feeling in her gut that this was too good to be true. Scarlett organized the bridal shower with grandiosity and volunteered to help with invitations, while her charm shimmered almost irresistibly, disarming Clara's lingering suspicions. In those moments, Clara desperately wanted to exchange past grievances for a brighter future, one devoid of animosity. But that desire to believe created a blind spot over her skepticism, leading her down a path she had yet to fully understand. Then, without warning, the sky fell. The ground beneath Clara's feet crumbled away. A mere month before what was supposed to be the intimate, joyous celebration of her union with Julian, everything shattered. On an ordinary afternoon, Clara received an unexpected text message, cold and impersonal, from Julian. His words left no room for doubt. He and Scarlett had formed a deeper and more authentic connection, and as of that moment they were beginning a new life together. Clara felt frozen in time, her heart unable to grasp the full weight of the betrayal that echoed through every syllable. In her mind, images of their wedding day danced cruelly, now tainted by the realization that the sisterly bond Clara had sought so desperately to build had been a facade, a deception crafted in the guise of familial affinity. The air felt thick with a stifling nullity as the blood rushed from Clara's face, her mind racing to comprehend the reality of what was unfolding. The weight of this disillusion crashed upon her, like waves relentless against the shore. For all of Clara's effort to cultivate kinship, for every hopeful gesture made toward reconciliation, none could prepare her for this betrayal. Julian, her partner, had become a willing accomplice. Scarlett, the girl who had tormented her for years, had now stolen something far more precious. What had begun as a tentative reconciliation transformed into the epitome of betrayal at the hands of those who were supposed to protect her heart. In that moment, Clara faced a harrowing truth. The pain of deceit pierced deeper than the wounds from her past. It forged new scars, evolving her understanding of loyalty and love, entwining her story further into a tumultuous narrative that still awaited resolution. As shadows of anger began to weave through her veins, Clara understood that the road ahead would be fraught with trials, a reckoning that would require her to confront not only her pain but also the very essence of trust itself. The moment Clara received the text from Julian, her world turned upside down in an instant. It was as if she were drowning, gasping for air, yet unable to catch even a single breath. The words flashed brightly on her screen, glaringly cold and detached. "I have found a deeper and more authentic connection with Scarlett. We are starting a new life together." Those words echoed in her mind, each syllable an agonizing reminder of betrayal. Clara felt as if the ground beneath her had crumbled, leaving her in a chasm of despair and disbelief. What followed was a whirlwind of shock and emotion, a storm that raged within her for days. Clara had poured her heart into the love she shared with Julian, believing it would endure. The pain was suffocating. No longer was she merely fighting to overcome insecurities. She was battling a profound heartbreak that seeped deep into her very being. Day by day, the world had started to lose its vibrant colors, fading into dull shades of gray, a mere reflection of her inner turmoil. Eleanor stood by her side, embracing Clara as she struggled to understand the magnitude of the deception. Tears streamed down Eleanor's face, her heart breaking over the pain inflicted upon her daughter. Robert, on the other hand, remained stoic yet seething. He roamed the house with a quiet fury, grappling with feelings of betrayal, both regarding Scarlett and Julian. The familial bond they had fostered was shattered by the very people they had welcomed into their lives. Together they navigated the immediate aftermath, sharing silent glances and gentle touches, yet a tension lay thick in the air, swimming through their collective grief. Clara initially resisted her mother's suggestions to reach out for professional help. Grief is often a heavy burden that many choose to avoid, and Clara did not want to confront the reality that lay before her. However, as the days stretched into weeks and sleep became an elusive shadow, a realization began to pierce through the shroud of numbness that enveloped her. She could no longer navigate through pain alone. Reluctantly, Clara made the call to a therapist specializing in betrayal trauma. As she settled into the therapist's office for the first time, the scent of fresh coffee wafted through the air, and soft melodies played gently in the background. It was a sanctuary in contrast to the chaos swirling in her mind. In her first session, words came reluctantly, startled by how the pain spilled forth with such fervor. Clara spoke of the emotions that racked her heart, the images of betrayal that clouded her thoughts, and the disillusionment that obscured her vision. With each word, Clara began dismantling the walls built around her heart, brick by brick. Internally, she wrestled with emotions like guilt and anger. Would she have been able to see the warning signs? Were there clues she ignored amid her desire for reconciliation with Scarlett? As Clara opened up, she began unpacking not only the betrayal but also years of built-up trauma from childhood interactions with Scarlett. It was a process fraught with turbulence, yet every revelation brought a deeper understanding of herself and the complexities of their lives. In therapy, Clara discovered the power of expressing her grief. She began journaling, capturing moments of despair, but also moments of joy and progress. Each entry became a testament to her journey, the small victories of moving forward, the thrill of creativity she often felt stifled by the shadows of her past. Drawing and sketching became her sanctuary. She took solace in her art as a medium for healing, finding beauty in her pain and turning it into something her heart could breathe through. It was not until she decided to reduce her digital footprint, removing social media accounts that only seemed to amplify her pain, that she felt a glimmer of hope reignite within. Ignoring the pedestals upon which her betrayers stood, Clara began recalibrating her view of the world, restoring boundaries that had once been invaded. As the days turned into months, Clara's grief began to transform into resilience. She made a commitment to herself to rebuild, reshape, and reclaim her identity. Art school courses kept her spirited and engaged. Finally progressing in her graphic design studies, Clara uncovered an intricate bond between her emotions and her art. She thrived amid creative projects, where her work began to reflect her experiences, and the world outside bloomed once again. Friends old and new began to provide layers of support, reminding her there was life beyond the painful echoes of betrayal. They rallied around Clara, integrating her into their social circles, inviting her to gatherings, and allowing her to feel a bubbling joy she thought had vanished. The more distance she created from the betrayal, the more room there was for healing. Clara was finding her footing again, each day meticulously crafted around choices that nurtured her spirit rather than reined it in. Parental support also played a crucial role as Eleanor and Robert reinforced their unwavering commitment to Clara's well-being. They provided space to process emotions without judgment. They understood, perhaps even more deeply than Clara knew, that healing would be a non-linear journey. Clara found refuge in conversations with them, often sharing snippets of her progress, accompanied by laughter that had once seemed long forgotten. Little by little, Clara embraced her healing journey. The quiet corner became a metaphor for her own life, a space for calm amidst life's turbulent tides. And while the memories of betrayal remained, they began serving as stepping stones rather than roadblocks, nudging her further along the path of resilience and newfound strength. Clara stood in the back of the quiet corner, the independent bookstore and cafe her stepfather had poured his heart and soul into over the years. She took a moment to breathe, inhaling the rich aroma of fresh coffee and the light scent of new books. The shelves were filled with stories waiting to be discovered, much like Clara herself had been waiting for her moment to take charge of her life. Her journey had not been easy. The years of trauma after the betrayal by Scarlett and Julian were still fresh in her mind. Each step was a cautious one, but Clara had grown immeasurably stronger. Robert had always believed in Clara's potential, and with Scarlett out of the picture along with the weight of her manipulative presence, Clara finally felt free to explore her own capabilities. "Clara," Robert called, pulling Clara from her thoughts. He gestured towards a set of invoices on the cafe counter, marking the importance of this meeting. "Have you had a chance to look over the new supplier options?" Clara nodded, having spent hours poring over the documents the night before. She had ideas, innovative ideas that could bring in more revenue and attract a younger crowd with a passion for literature and community. They had always envisioned Scarlett taking over the quiet corner, but fate had dealt a different hand. Clara, despite her initial hesitations about retail management, was ready to step up and transform the beloved space. "How about we revamp the cafe menu to include local pastries and specialty coffees?" Clara suggested, excitement bubbling in her voice. "We can host weekly events, open mic nights or book signings. It will attract more customers and give them reasons to come back regularly." Robert Sipp's eyes lit up at the idea. "I like it. We need to bring a sense of community back into this place. It is time we infuse new life into the business that starts with you." With each passing day, Clara immersed herself deeper into the business. She utilized her graphic design skills to create stunning visual content for social media, catching the eye of the local youth. She redesigned the store's website, offering online ordering for the espresso drinks and packaged bakery goods. The process brought her a sense of fulfillment she had not anticipated. She was pouring her energy into something good, something that belonged solely to her. As she delved deeper into the world of marketing and branding, Clara decided to attend night courses in business management. Balancing studies with the responsibilities of running the quiet corner was no small feat, yet Clara embraced the challenge, not wishing to falter as Scarlett once had. She was diligent, attending classes, learning new management strategies, and applying them directly to her business. Time trickled by, and after 4 years of dedication, Clara stood proudly in the center of the quiet corner, watching as patrons spilled in with laughter and discussion, their shadows dancing across the well-worn wooden floors. The atmosphere buzzed with life, something Clara had desperately wanted to foster since taking over. Under her stewardship, the quiet corner had become a hub for the local community. It blossomed with personality, an inviting place where stories and conversations intertwined like the vines growing along the exterior walls. "What we have built together is beautiful," Robert said one afternoon as they sipped their coffees at a table tucked in the corner. "You have truly made this place your own. I could not be prouder." Facing her stepfather's proud smile made her heart swell. Eleanor, too, had seen Clara transform, displayed in the confidence that radiated from her daughter. The bond they shared had deepened immeasurably, and it felt as if they were a family again, united against the struggles of the past. "Thank you, Robert," Clara replied, finally opening up more about her journey through therapy and self-discovery over those last few years. "Your support has made an incredible difference." Together, they began to discuss plans for expanding the cafe, introducing a book club that paired discussions with the mead menu items, heightening the sense of community. Clara no longer felt the weight of betrayal. She had carved out a new identity that did not depend on the actions of Scarlett and Julian. As she smiled at Robert, she understood that she had turned her own story around. From the ashes of betrayal, Clara had risen, finding purpose and passion that no one could take away. And sealed with a firm handshake and the warm embrace of family, Clara stepped into her future, a future filled with promise, growth, and unyielding independence. Thank you for joining me on this incredible journey of resilience and transformation. Clara's story reminds us that even in the face of betrayal and heartbreak, we can find strength and build a life that we truly own. If you enjoyed this story or learned something meaningful, please be sure to like this video and subscribe for more heartfelt narratives that explore the complexities of human relationships and the power of personal growth. I would love to hear your thoughts on Clara's journey in the comments below. Have you ever experienced a betrayal that led to a new chapter in your life? Share your story and let's connect. Until next time, remember that every ending can lead to a beautiful new beginning. Keep shining brightly, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.